Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video of Fox Flicks on the Ink Take. Today we're checking out a brand new vid from them of remaking the original Ultimate Aliens. This video was suggested to me by Jake Bali. I'm sorry if I just butchered that pronunciation of your last name, but thank you for the recommendation to check out this video. And two announcements. One, at the time of recording this, we had just hit over 100 subscribers on the channel. Making these 4 videos of the day, our subscriber specials. And on the day of recording this, it is also my birthday as well. So, today, January 23rd, is the birthday of Fox Flicks and Clicks the channel, and Fox himself. Now, let's hop into this video and see these Ultimates be remade into a brand new Ultimate form. Let's go.
Good evening, Internet World and Universe. This is OR Ash, and welcome back to the Drawing Matrix. A new year, new videos, and I got dibs on first. We are back once again to continue our Ultimates Overhauled series. Last time, we finished off the original series add-ons by covering the Halloween trio and the adjacent Anur aliens. This time around, we're going to be rounding off the base Alien Force playlist by redesigning the original Ultimates. Now, I've already given the ultimate treatment to the other 4 Alien Force boys in a previous episode. Make sure you go check it out, it's pretty good. It's
check out those videos.
So, all that's left are the 5 who have existing Ultimates already. Going into this episode, I had to have a slightly different mindset. I've redesigned existing Ultimates before, but this is the first and only episode that is all redesigns. But they're the designs that started the Ultimate gimmick, so I want to do them justice regardless. Today, I'll be redesigning Ultimates Humongosaur, Swampfire, Spider Monkey, Echo Echo, and Big Chill. Let's get into it.
The main
Guess
vibe.
what time it is? It's hero time!
First up to bat, we have the alien that Ben has attempted to dial up the most throughout the franchise,
Humongosaur.
Humongosaur was the first alien to
Classic.
go ultimate in the entire franchise. Granted, it was albedo, but this spiky dino indirectly set the rules for all ultimates going forward, and those rules are a little inconsistent. But using him as an example is how I came up with the color swap and power trade-off rules that I use. His original ultimate turns green and loses the ability to grow in favor of missile launching grippers. Despite the rest of the ultimates not following the same rules or aesthetic, I think having this be the first example of an ultimate at least sets a decent baseline for the gimmick itself, and I do enjoy that. But why the hell is he a giant turtle that shoots missiles? Like,
wait, he's a
legitimately,
turtle?
what the hell? Seeing this as a kid was so confusing, but also really hype.
Okay,
Looking at his
he does
design
kinda
from
have
an
a
evolutionary
shell. Never thought
perspective,
about it
you
like
could
that.
say that he gains the shell to protect from tyrannopedes and his missile hands to combat turbosarians, but those things aren't introduced until later in Omniverse, and I doubt they really planned that far ahead. Overall, I'm just not a giant fan of his design. With my take on Ultimate Humongo, first off, I wanted to make him a pure creature of combat, solely so that he can live up to the scene of him fighting all of the other Humongosaurs. I made him a bit more lean and increased the size of his legs so that he can be a little bit faster and a lot more agile. I also massively increased his tail. Him using that as like his main attacking thing would be really cool and work really well with this massive size. Next are his scales, or armor, I guess. Base Humongosaur grows armor as he grows, but I thought if I'm getting rid of the growth power, which I am, I wanted the ultimate to have armor by default. So now he's covered head to toe in thick, solid scales that he can grow and manipulate around. This is also used to somewhat implement the shell that the original has, but in a more visually pleasing way. With this new scale manipulation ability, comboing this with his tail would make for some massive weapons like axes or wrecking balls that you kind of see from the original as well. Or something a bit more akin to Reboot Humongosaur's powers. Lastly, I wanted to give him an impact absorption ability, meaning he can take a hit and redirect the kinetic energy from it back out against his enemies. He would use this for some really mean punches, and so he can fire off some of those scales like projectiles. And no, they don't explode. So, to recap, his new abilities include increased speed and agility, scale manipulation, and impact absorption and redirection. As far as trade-offs, he can no longer grow in size. Other than that, may I present my redesigned Ultimate Humongosaur that I dub Chain Scale.
Chain Scale.
Ultimate Humongosaur!
Not a badass name.
What's
As in
that
that
smell?
is a badass name.
Is that me?
Methane.
Next up, we have the quite literal late bloomer,
Swampfire!
Swampfire himself is a fan favorite to many, but his ultimate, on the other hand, well, let's just say
kind
people were
of
more excited to see his
crap.
new bloomed version in Omniverse. Personally,
bloom
Ultimate
version
Swamps is my
beautiful.
favorite of the Ultimates, like the official ones. Trading out the green, growing, viney body for a hardened wood one seemed like a decent evolutionary progression for a plant. Yeah, he can't regenerate
No,
anymore,
yeah.
but with his
You're right,
increased
that
durability,
does
that
make
doesn't
sense.
really matter. Also, giving him those weird methane-infused, like, chlorophyll or sap fruit things, whatever they are, I thought it was really cool. It indirectly
are
shows
they?
what could have been a concentrated source of his firepower. Not to mention his encapsulated head is supposed to be kind of like a little design nod to his fellow fire flinger, Heat Blast. Anyway,
Oh,
with my
I never
redesign,
got
I
that.
wanted to keep
Huh.
the overall aesthetic of the original,
pointing
but
that
just
out.
like, you know, zhuzh it up a little bit. As much as I enjoy the blue bulbs on him, a lot of people are confused as to what exactly they're supposed to be. So, the first thing I
I kind of
wanted to do
overdid
was
it.
change how this material looks. I thought would be interesting to take inspiration from the real-life Spanish moss that grows on trees in swamps. That stuff seems like it would be very flammable. Plus, when stylizing it, I imagine I can make it look
okay.
more like a plume of smoke rising up off of his head. And that would go along with the whole fire aspect to his design. His body, I am keeping
Good
made of wood
ideas.
though. I just think it works well. But I did definitely want to change his proportions. I wanted to make him a lot more tanky. It seems like they were headed that direction with his original design, but just
Whoa.
didn't take it far enough. So, similar to the original, I gave him increased chest and head size, but to add on to the tankiness, I turned his arms into full-on tree trunk cannons. It's a
Dude,
plant
now
with the
that
power
is
to make
awesome.
explosions, and tree trunks look like a similar shape to bazookas, so I don't know why they never really
anyone else
made that
getting,
connection with this
vibes of,
design to begin
Big
with. Also,
O,
with how
that old
big
anime?
and slow I'm making him, I think it would be fun if he used smaller explosions from his feet to kind of fly around at short distances. Lastly, I wanted to
see
add
that.
in some accent color, so I gave him a new thing called scatterbulbs. These are inspired by turkey tail mushrooms as well as sandbox tree seeds. Turkey tails grow on trees and they look like little weird disc things, and I think they look cool as an aesthetic. And with the sandbox tree seeds, they are famously known to explode
the
so that they can
dynamite
spread their
plant.
seeds very far distances throughout the jungles and stuff. People have gotten really messed up by them. As far as Swampy's scatterbulbs, they're the same type of thing. They expel out a barrage of sharp, thorny seeds, as if you mix together like a shotgun and a grenade. So, to recap,
And it
as far as
came
his
on a
new
tree.
abilities, he now can generate a methane
grew on a
moss
tree,
all
whatever.
over his body. He has giant tree trunk cannon arms, and he now has his little scatterbulb bombs. As far as his trade-offs, I'm making it to where he can no longer regenerate. I am also decreasing his mobility and making him very slow, because he is a much bigger boy than
That
he
seems
used to
fine.
be. Other than
A
that,
good
may I
trade-off.
present to you my redesigned Ultimate Swampfire that I dub Blister Moss.
Ooh, Blister. Not bad.
Ultimate Swampfire!
Now imagine finding that in your swamp.
Check it out! Hands free.
Now, we move on to the pun that was taken way too literally, Spider Monkey. Spider Monkey is an all-around
They
pretty
took that
useful
pun
animal,
and
but
ran
when a
with it.
blowtorch went
Just
rogue, we were
ran.
introduced to one of the most, just, nothing, quote-unquote, upgrades of the UAF era, and that is
Would you even
Ultimate
call it
Spider
an
Monkey.
upgrade? It just
Legitimately,
became
I
a
rank
different
this guy
monkey.
in the same place as the Ultimate Wild Mutt or Way Big situations, where nothing really changed except their design, kind of. Ultimate Spider
it.
Monkey,
He
they
just
just
became a different
replaced the
kind of
monkey
spider
part
monkey.
with the gorilla, and that's about it. I made a poll over on my Twitter last week asking people's least favorite Ultimates and why, and amongst the most popular Ultimates, Spider Monkey ranked last, and honestly for good reason. To quote one of my favorite comments, he's just a fat purple gorilla on stilts. With my redesign, I wanted to make him
I mean,
feel a
they're
lot
not
more
wrong.
beastly
They're
and a
not
little
wrong.
scary, and definitely put a lot more color into his design. Rather than taking just gorillas and generic spiders, I based mine on tarantulas and an actual member of the monkey family, mandrills. Tarantulas are hairy, which fits with the whole, like, monkey-looking aesthetic, and they come in a variety of really cool colors and patterns. And as far as the mandrills, well, the same reasoning. I imagined that the colorful patches that they have on their faces could look really alien for an ultimate alien if done correctly, and I thought it just paired really well with the tarantula theming. I gave him a very top-heavy body with long, segmented tarantula arms to make him feel like he's constantly lurching over his enemies. Like the original Ultimate, he does use his arms to walk, but I gave him a full 8 arms, ditched the legs, and made him omni-jointed, meaning that his arms can bend in any direction, making traversing super easy for him. Each of these arms will also feature colored patches of hair that, when touched, can cause paralysis and hysteria. He can also shed or rub these hairs off and hurl them at enemies, so that he has kind of a more projectile attack other than just his webbing. Lastly, I gave him 360 vision by splitting up his eye placement between his face and the bottom of his abdomen. His abdomen.
He has ass eyes.
He's got eyes on his ass. This is meant to play into the fact that mandrills have colorful rear ends. Also, because of these eyes, if you were to look at this Ultimate from behind, he just looks like a gigantic tarantula. So, to recap, as far as his new abilities, he now has a multi-jointed larger body. He has 4 additional arms, 360 vision, and paralytic hairs. As far as his trade-offs, he's still going to be losing his tail. But other than that, may I present to you my redesigned Ultimate Spider Monkey that I dub Bugaboon.
Bugaboon.
Ultimate Spider
Reminds me of Bugaboo from Scary Godmother.
Next up, we have the one-man screamo band, Echo Echo. I remember the original promos hyping up to Alien Force, and this transformation was one that I could not wait to see. Featuring both seemingly endless duplication and sonic screaming powers, he baseline made Ditto and Benwolf seem obsolete. And when they made Ultimate Echo Echo, I feel like they understood that they had to make him equally as cool. And honestly, they succeeded. A large amount of the fan base all agree that he is one of, if not the coolest Ultimate Alien. He even follows the rules of the gimmick, turning from white to blue, and losing his duplication in turn for flight and his sonic discs. Now, with my redesign, I struggled just a little bit, because honestly, I really like his design. And that's saying a lot, because I hate mechanical aliens. I wanted to keep within the same rounded shape feel to him, but over-exaggerate some features. I also thought it would be fun to theme him to music. To do this, I increased the size and shape of his legs to vaguely resemble speaker stacks. Instead of just straight up flying, he more so just kind of hovered across the ground using sound waves, and of course that led me into tweaking the music theme just a little bit and pushing it more so into being inspired by jam skating. For those who don't know, I used to run a skating rink, and my brothers who were regulars there were professional jam skaters, meaning that they would break dance on skates. And when I came up with the idea to use jam skating, I just keep imagining how sick it would be if he goes Ultimate and then just starts break dancing. Like, come on, that would be cool. Now, in this instance, rather than taking one, I'm going to be giving him an extra leg. Powers-wise, I'm actually going to be ditching the sound discs in turn for sonic paddles that are on his legs and his hands. These are meant to channel sound more accurately into focused attacks rather than just large bursts. He can use this to send sound waves through objects without damaging them and damaging something else on the other side of them, or for trying to pick up sound waves more accurately from further away, like trying to listen through a wall. And to add on another new power, I'm going to give him a thing that I call echo stitching, which gives him the ability to mimic and remix anything he hears.
Oh.
Quiet.
And just for the hell of it, I'm going to be tacking on super speed, because I imagine with the sound wave hovering that he does, the louder he gets, the faster he goes. He can even lift his back leg up and use it like a jetpack. Look, it may seem like I'm making him OP, which, honestly, I hate doing that with characters, but man, this dude deserves it. He's so damn cool. So, to recap, he now has super speed sonar skating, sound paddles, and echo stitching. As far as trade-offs, he is now blind and strictly uses echolocation. I am actually going to be keeping his duplication power, but limiting it to only like maybe 2 or 3 clones, and that's mainly because I want to see a group of these guys jam skating and doing a routine together. But other than that, may I present to you my redesigned Ultimate Echo that I call Base Kick.
Okay, Base Kick is a pretty good name.
Ultimate Echo. Chill, dude. See what I did there?
Yes, Ben, we see.
Last up on the plate, today we are covering what could be the absolute most boring ultimate of all, and that's Big Chill.
Yeah,
Base Big Chill is such a cool alien, and I'm not saying that to make a pun. His design is very simple, but also very solid, and the whole wing cloak is such an interesting idea. It helps convey the overall creepiness of this chilling ghost moth guy. So you can imagine the absolute disappointment that I felt when his ultimate was just a recolor. They trade in his cool icy blues for hot rod flames and say that his powers fire so cold that it burns? That doesn't make any sense. If it's meant to play into the fact that frostbite can feel like it's a burning sensation, that would be one thing. But they legitimately just make his ice look like fire, and that's it. He has the exact same powers. Arguably, they might be a little bit stronger, but this dude kept the same loadout and just equipped a different skin. So, my complaints aside, with my redesign, I wanted to go in a completely different direction. I did try really hard to stay within the fire theme, but I just could not come up with something that worked. Although, I did find this concept by ZyCC on Reddit that conveys a very different take on the firepower that I do think works really well. Good work on you, ZyCC, for making it actually really cool. But as far as my redesign, I didn't want to go too hot or too cold, but just right and make him be able to manipulate his temperature. I would say thanks to some kind of weird thermal gel that makes up his body now, he can increase or decrease the temperature around him. I'd say the range of it is probably like 100 feet. It is an ultimate after all, so we want to give him like some good wiggle room when it comes to power. And because of this new thermal shifting gel body, he now goes from intangibility capable to full-on density shifting, being able to solidify or disperse his body into fog. He rolls up as just a straight up bank of fog and just starts making it snow, or rain, or even become like overly humid and gross. With this in mind, I would say his temperature control does act a little bit like a weather manipulation ability, just on a much smaller scale. To go along with the temperature theme, I am also just gonna straight up give him thermal vision. Big Chill would intentionally try to make an area colder so that he can seek out and look for warm signals to try to find enemies much easier. Now, he does still have his regular vision too, but he can like switch it on and off. Another thing I wanted to do with this design was play up the creepiness factor that regular Big Chill has normally. I leaned a lot more into the like moth elements of his design until I accidentally went straight into Mothman territory. Most of his face and wings are now covered in this thick fur that can change color based on the temperature around him. Like the fog starts rolling in and you just see this giant vague shape of a big creature and eyes just piercing through the fog. By default, I imagine that this fur would be white with gray and black bits, and this is meant to be more so inspired by real-life peppered moths, because they too use the coloration of their wings to camouflage. As far as additional powers, he can now manipulate the mist and fog that he creates by freezing precise bits of them into reflective ice vapors and create mist illusions. He can also now perform mass mitosis and spawn small swarms of his children from his underwings. This is meant to mimic the whole gimmick of like Dracula and vampires, how they can burst into like a swarm of bats, or summon a swarm of bats from under their cape. I will say that these spawn are not sapiens. If anything, they act more like trained animals and will listen to commands from the ultimate Big Chill. His mouth is covered by fur normally, but whenever he does go to open it up, the fur kind of splits open like a seam and opens up this gigantic maw, similar to something you would see with like No Face from Spirited Away. So, to recap, he now has a temperature manipulation ability. He can also do small-scale weather manipulation and create mist illusions. He also has thermal vision and mass mitosis. As far as his trade-offs, I am going classic Ash and taking away his legs. May I present to you my redesigned Ultimate Big Chill that I dub Shutter Swarm.
Nice. It's like a hive lord now.
And with that, Alien Force Playlist 1 is finito! Definitely did not forget any. I would never forget an alien on a playlist. Definitely not avoiding any in particular. Did you like my redesigns, or do you still prefer the originals? Let me know in the comments down below. Next episode, we're going to be doing something a little bit different, and if you want to know what it is early, consider joining our Patreon. Also, make sure to check out the other links that we have in the description, such as our Twitch channel, where you can hang with us while we work, and the links to my socials, where I'll be posting the albedo edits of these boys sometime later today. Other than
well, I gotta say, this was actually a really interesting video. It was great to see all these brand new designs for the Ultimate Aliens. And taking the ones that created the gimmick and making them even better. I can't wait to see what he does for the, damn it, I'm forgetting the one, what they'll call the group with them. It's the one that's got Armadillo, Water Hazard, you know, all that. Anyway, folks, that's where we're going to end off today's video. I want you all to remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. Down in the description will be a link to the original video, so remember to support the original creators and all they do. And I'll see all of you folks next time when we flick on. Peace out.